Excellent. Jones in New York City, in the process of beginning my coaching business. Coach Barb is calling in from Paraguay. Paraguay?
I think Paraguay, but I might be wrong. Be a first time for
Alicia
that.
in Southern California. First time for you being wrong?
Yeah.
Yes, I agree with that.
And I want to say too, if you're thinking about this, or maybe you're typing something out right now, it's okay to also not know what you want. It's okay to not know what you want. It's okay to just be like, I just showed up because I didn't have other plans at this time on this day. Hello, Queens, New York. Louise, that's awesome. And Toronto, Irene. Bob, Oklahoma City. Nice. Sean, Bob likes your idea to start part-time.
Yes. That is exactly what we're going to dive into.
Like it.
Barbara says, I'm restarting my coaching business, having moved here from Germany a few months ago. Excellent.
That's fantastic.
Leslie is growing her entrepreneurial muscles in her grooming business. It's my full-time job, so my coaching business can be successful and less pressurized.
Love that.
Part-time is the key. Excellent. We're going to check in here with you guys just in a moment. We're going to launch a couple polls and get a better sense of where you are in the whole process of coaching and your journey. So for now, we're going to start here in about a minute. We just want to know, if you haven't already put in chat, where you are logging in from and what do you want? What do you want out of this webinar? What do you want to learn? What do you want to get over? Or if there's a certain challenge that you are dealing with in your life, in your world, in your business, then let us know that too.
Sean Jordan said that he's from South Carolina and is excited about being further inspired to gain my first paid client coaching part-time.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's possible, my friend. It is possible. If that's the main thing that any of you get from this webinar, then then I'm happy that it is possible.
Irene wants to get better at closing deals. iPhone wants to just know how to get more clients. Yeah, we're going to talk about that.
Excellent. How to get more clients. Vicky, I'm in Maryland, just getting started as a coach. If you haven't typed in chat, some of you aren't able to type in chat. Maybe some of you might be watching the replay. If you haven't typed in chat or you're watching the replay, I want you to answer that question, because it's really important for us to know why we are showing up for something. It's important to tell our mind, this is what I want to learn, or this is what I want help with. This is what I want to get over. So make sure that you are creating some kind of filter to look at all this information from. All right. So with that, let's get rolling here. I appreciate all of you showing up. There's all kinds of stuff that you could be doing, and you decided to show up to this webinar called How to Make Really Good Money as a Part-Time Coach. How about that, huh? Let me share some slides with you. Let me find the slides first. That is most important. Here we go. Looks like I shared my whole screen.
You did. You're going to scare the people.
I know. This webinar is not called How to Organize Your Desktop. That is for sure. Scare everybody away. All right. Here we go. How to make really good money as a part-time coach. If that's okay with you. I mean, we need to normalize being part-time. Because anything that you start, it's going to be very difficult for you to start full-time. But we've been conditioned, and there's a piece of our mind that just wants to go from zero to full-time, wants to go from zero to successful, even though we all know that's not possible to a certain degree, but yet we still want to. And because of that, the majority of the conversations, I think, in personal development in general and coaching specifically, are all about how can you go from where you are to full-time, to making a ton of money, to high-ticket clients. And all of that is skipping a lot of steps in between. And because of that, we believe that there's shame around being part-time. There's not a whole lot of people talking about part-time coaching. And I think it's because that's not what people want. And so the market is really giving what so many of us want, and there's nothing wrong with wanting that, but you're not going to go from stage 1 to stage 4. If you're in stage 1, you have to go through stage 2, and somewhere along that way is going to be part-time for almost all of you. Now, I personally did not start coaching part-time, but that's because I was already full-time in sales and network marketing and all these other things that I was already doing that I had quit my job before. That's a whole nother story. I won't get into all of that pain. But Michelle did. Many of you know Michelle. She's on most of the videos that we do. Michelle did her business part-time. And so what we're going to share with you today is what we've learned both together with all of this experience that we have. So let me not get ahead of myself, and let me show you what's on the slides here. What I want to do is convince you of two things. I want to convince you that the single most important or of the single most important ingredient in your success. I want to convince you of what that is. And I also want to convince you of the actual, real, honest strategies that work and don't work for nearly everybody based on our combined experience. So Michelle's been in this world for 7+, 8+ years. I've been in this world for about 18 years. Combined, we're going to tell you what we know about what works for almost everybody. And then I really want to convince you to bet on yourself. Whether you do that with us or you do that with somebody else, that's up to you, obviously, but you have to bet on yourself. And speaking of you, I honor you. I want you to keep showing up because they need you. Whoever your message can help needs you. So before we get going, I want to launch a couple quick polls for you. Michelle, can you launch these polls since my slides are taking up my whole screen? The first poll is, what is your monthly profit coaching? What's your monthly profit? Wherever you are is great. This is not a shame-inducing question, or we don't want it to be. That's not our intention. I just want to know where you are so I can tailor the message to you as best we can. Where are you monthly profit? Now, if you have expenses in your business, then you have to remove that from any money that you've got coming in. So if you're earning $500 a month, but you're spending $300 for whatever reason, then you only have a $200 profit. If you're earning $500 and you're spending $1,000, then you have less than zero. But if that's true, you could just type in 0. I didn't go into negative numbers here. All right, excellent. Cool. So it looks like just about all of you have answered, and the majority of you, will give you about 10 seconds or so to finish this up. The majority of you looks like are at 0, which is great. I mean, that would make sense for a webinar that's titled How to Make Good Money Being Part-Time Coach. So that means most of you are part-time coaches. Most of you don't have a whole lot of money coming in. So it looks like about 75% of you, about 3/4 are making $250 or less. And almost all of you, about 90%, are $1,000 or less. Excellent. Cool. Thank you for being honest. You can go ahead and close that, Michelle, if you didn't already do that. So then I have another poll for you. This poll has 2 questions. I want to talk about money that you've invested. So how much total money have you invested toward coaching? And then how much wasted money What I mean by wasted money is, and I put it in quotes for this reason, is that it seems like you didn't get anything out of it. You bought a program, and it could be because you didn't do it. You didn't do the program, you didn't follow it, or it could be that you did it and it wasn't what you expected, or you even, did all the way through it, just didn't create the return that you wanted. And it's really important that we capture your perception of how much wasted, in quotes again, money that you've invested. Now that's a percentage, right? So the first question is, how much total money do you think you've invested toward coaching? And that could be coaching programs or products or hiring private coaches, just anything toward your endeavor of coaching. And if you don't know these answers, you're not being graded on the exact numbers or anything like that. Just guess, just pick a number, pick a bucket that you probably fit into. And then the second question is a percentage question. So out of the amount of money that you believe you've invested toward coaching, how much of it do you feel like has been wasted money? Let's see here. Oh, nice. 100% of you have answered. That's great. We appreciate that. So it looks like the majority of you, this is interesting. I always love these polls because just the live data is fascinating. So 80% of you have invested over $2,500. And almost half of you fall in the bucket of 2,500 to 10,000. 20% of you have done 25,000 or more. We can share these, right, Michelle? If you're able to share the results, go ahead and share those. Excellent. And none of you said zero. So that's cool. I honor you for that. All right. So 35% over $10,000. And then 90% is $2,500 or more. All right, great. Now let's see what you think about the wasted money. 30% of you say none of it has been wasted. And then 32% says about a quarter or less, 21%, 18%, 0% say 25 or 75% or more. Excellent. Cool. All right. So thank you for sharing that information. I think it's important that we just assess how much we've invested and how much we think has been wasted, because one of the things that we really want to get across to you is that whatever you've done is probably perfect. Like you're on the right path. And it's literally impossible for every single choice that you make to get everything out of it that you wanted to get out of it. That's just not possible. But what happens a lot of times is people start to get like residue from the choices that we've made, the money that we've spent, and then we put too much pressure on ourselves to make the right choices going forward. And when we put too much pressure on ourselves, we actually increase the likelihood that we'll make the wrong choices, because pressure doesn't make us make smarter decisions. Pressure makes us make worse decisions. And so part of what we want you to experience with yourself is your relationship to the choices that you've made, to the journey that you're on so far. What we found is that almost everybody is doing the right things and they're actually on the right path in the right way, but they're just creating misery for themselves because they don't think they are. Meaning like they think that we should be going faster. They think that I should be able to charge more. They think that I shouldn't have these fears, right? So most people are doing the right things, but they've convinced themselves that it should be different, that the right path should be different than what it actually is. So that's an expectation problem, right? So why do most coaches fail? It's pressure, because of the expectations I just talked about. It's pressure. It's not lack of capability. It's not lack of even capacity in terms of your ability to do this work. You know, the amount of time that you have to put in. It's really nothing more than the pressure that we put on ourselves. Now, the pressure is usually because of our programming. It's always because of our programming. Sometimes it's our internal programming that we're putting on ourselves because our own expectations, and we're so hard on ourselves. And sometimes it's the program that other people are putting on us. But essentially, it comes down to pressure. And here's the thing. When we remove pressure, we go faster. When we decrease pressure, we increase performance. When we increase pressure, we decrease performance. So what we find is that most coaches, first of all, part-time isn't even being normalized, isn't even being celebrated. So we don't like the idea of being part-time because we're supposed to be full-time and we want all these, you know, high-ticket clients and so forth. And so that's one of the reasons why we put pressure on ourselves, because we want to skate through like as fast as possible the part-time part, right? But then even if we are part-time, we're just putting so much performance pressure on ourselves. And the performance pressure is usually coming from a place of insecurity. It's coming from a place of impatience. And none of that actually helps. None of that helps increase what you actually really need. We interviewed one of our students yesterday, I believe, and she texted Michelle. I think she texted you yesterday too, right? And she's like, you know, you guys are talking about part-time. I didn't even realize that since January, I've earned, was it $11,000, right? $11,000. I'm looking for confirmation.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if you could see me or not. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, $11,000 is what she had texted me, part-time. She didn't even realize it. That was like 2 days ago. And then this morning sent me a follow-up text that she had just sold another $2,000 in coaching, like enrolled another client.
Okay. So like some of these stories that we hear, I mean, they're fantastic, right? Like it's so cool to celebrate that. And these need to be the stories that are taking center stage, because between where most of you are and those $10,000 months or those high ticket clients, between where you are and where you ultimately want to go is part-time success. It's early phase success. So we need to celebrate those kinds of stories while still working a job, while still doing all the things that she was always doing. She just added an extra $13,000 this year. And if you break that down, that's almost $2,000 every single month. I mean, think about that. What if you could stay stable and you could do the things you've always been doing, and you can get better on the side, not increase a ton of pressure, not increase the pressure that you're putting on yourself, and in a relatively short amount of time, you could be bringing in a couple $1,000s a month. I mean, that's life-changing money for most people. That is life-changing money. Most people on their job are not going to get $2,000 raises over the next year. And this coach has been in this for about a year, right? Like most people are not going to get what's possible if you slow down to speed up. Most people are not going to get what's possible because all of the pressure, we've got the targets on the wrong, in the wrong place. So that's what I want you to get excited about. I want you to get excited about, what if it's not $2,000 a month? What if it's $1,000 a month? What if it's $500 a month? What if it's $200 a month? And the beautiful thing about what we're going to talk to you about is that while you are growing, you are succeeding. And oh, by the way, your life is changing. How about that? How about on the way to giving yourself an exciting raise, your life is changing. Your relationships are changing. Your self-esteem might be shifting. Your confidence, like you're growing into, essentially you're getting paid for your personal development. And
well,
then
that's exactly what she said. Like that's
Go ahead.
exactly what she said. She said it's, and I connect the certainty to like the personal work that she's done, even though it wasn't about business. She said, and I'm reading this word for word, as I grew and am growing, so do the areas in my life.
Like, God, I'm crying. Like, this story is good enough. The story that you can change your life while helping other people change their lives and give yourself a raise on the side, the story is good enough. We don't need to change that story. We don't need to add any fantasy to that. We don't need to sugarcoat that. The story is good enough as is. And then, yes, can you maybe one day sell a $5,000 coaching package? Yes. I mean, we have another person on the line that did recently. You'll hear from her in a little bit. Yes, you can do all of those things in due time. But the time depends on your growth. It does not depend on your emotion. It doesn't depend on your affirmations. It doesn't depend on how much you want it. It depends on your growth. We always say it's about time on the clock, not time on the calendar. So we can reconvene a year from now, and I think all of you will be in one of three places. You will either have put a year's worth of time on the clock, meaning in the work, doing the work, practicing, getting better, getting feedback. And a year on the calendar will equal a year on the clock. Or you will be lower or higher. Most people will be lower because of the pressure that we're talking about. And we're not here like trying to shame anybody. We're not trying to dismiss anybody. We just want to be real. We want to be honest. If you choose to continue with us, because this is exactly what you're going to get through the doors, right? If you choose to say yes to any of our programs, this is what you're going to get. You're going to get honesty. We're going to buckle up with you. We're going to go arm in arm with you. And we're going to go, this is the real path. And we're going to support you through it. We can't change the real path, but we can support you through it. And really what I want you all to know is the actual path that is possible, but you have to know what's on the path. And then my invitation to you is choose it anyway. Know what the path looks like. Know that it's uphill. It's not downhill. Know that it's going to grow you, but choose the outcome of that anyway. You don't have to know exactly what it's going to look like. You don't have to know all the steps. In fact, if you do know all the steps, it's not the right path. I can promise you that. If you're certain about the steps that you need to take and your brain goes, yeah, that's exactly what we want to take. Let's go ahead and do that one. It'll never grow you. That's just the nature of this game, right? Anything that's going to cause you to grow, like you literally can't understand it. One of the most important and valuable analogies that we use all the time is the caterpillar to the butterfly. And I don't have time in this webinar to explain all the science behind it. It's about a 20-minute explanation, but the caterpillar does not turn into the butterfly, meaning the caterpillar's brain is not in the butterfly's body. The caterpillar completely dies to itself. And then with all of the pieces that are in the cocoon, in the chrysalis, then the butterfly emerges. So the caterpillar evolves into a butterfly. What that means is the caterpillar doesn't know what it's going to be like as a butterfly, and the butterfly doesn't remember what it was like as a caterpillar because they actually don't communicate with each other. It's truly an evolution of levels. And so if you, in your caterpillar state, know exactly what it's going to be like to be a butterfly, you're on the wrong path. So much I want to say. I'm going to stop there. So most coaches fail because of the pressure that they're putting on themselves. Now, if I had to succeed, like if I had to get a client, if I had to make a certain amount of money, And I want this to transfer to you. If you had to become successful, wherever you are, if you had to become successful, what would I do? I've got 18 years in this game. So I'm telling you about what I would do looking back. What has worked, what hasn't worked, right? Here's what I wouldn't do. I wouldn't send anybody to my website. That's who knows how much we've spent. I mean, truthfully, I'm paying $500 a month for a web designer. So, and I've had them for probably 6 years. So my website is probably at least $50,000 over the years. I wouldn't send an email. We got 32,000 subscribers. I wouldn't send an email to all of them. I wouldn't make a post to 50,000 social media followers and all the different channels. I wouldn't do almost anything that most people are thinking they need. And we're going to give you a whole list of all the things that you don't need. I wouldn't do anything external that almost everybody thinks they need. What I would do is very simple. And again, we're going to break all this down here in a moment. What I would do is follow the simple principles. So principles are always simple, by the way. Fundamentals are always simple. Fundamentals are timeless. Fads are short-term. So you can build a business on fads and if it works, it'll be short-term, or you can build a business on fundamentals and they're simple, but they never change. That's the thing. Like the way they show up, there could be differences in variables and stuff like that, but fundamentals actually never change. And one of the reasons that we create a lot of pressure on ourselves and we keep chasing all these different targets is because the brain loves novelty. The brain loves new stuff. If what you're doing right now isn't working, the brain goes, we need something new. The brain doesn't say, why don't we commit to something that we already know in a different way? Why don't we go deeper in our conviction? Why don't we increase our certainty in that foundation? The brain goes, find me something new. Find me something new that we haven't tried before, because that's what I'm going to put all my hope into, right? And this is the way our brain works, you guys. This isn't, like a function of your determination muscles or whether you're disciplined or not. This is the way the brain works. The brain craves new. That's one of the biggest problems, is because there's no such thing as novel foundation. And it's always simple, and that's exciting. But the big question is, are you going to commit to the simple? Are you going to commit to growth and mastery? Or are you going to commit to fad-based, shortcut, guaranteed, done for you, microwave success? You have a decision to make between mastery and success, and mastery is not microwavable. If you commit to mastery, that's going to be growth. That's going to be internal, and that takes an oven. You can't microwave success. Mastery. The principles of growth are extremely simple, but the process of growth is messy. Simple and messy. Messy means you're going to doubt yourself. You know how many times people go, I want to do this thing, but I have doubts. I'm like, fantastic. If you have doubts, then you're on the right road. People are like, no, but I have fears. Like even before I go to put Facebook on, I'm afraid. I'm like, sweet. Because if you don't have fear, then you're not doing anything worthwhile. So the reasons that a lot of people are using as why they can't succeed or why they don't take action are the required ingredients on the road toward mastery. Hopefully that really lands for you, because people misunderstand the signs. So again, most of you are actually on the right path, but you just wish it were different, or it's uncomfortable. And when things get uncomfortable, what you need is not information. And you don't need guarantees. When things get uncomfortable, what you need is support. What you need is community. What you need is a lot of people to go, I was right there too. Keep going. We got you. I'll catch you. Keep coming, because this is what I went through too. That's what people need on the road of growth and mastery and evolution. But the mind says, Give me guarantees. Help me avoid failure. Give me new information. Give me all of these things. What you don't need a website and business cards and brochures and a huge list of people and impressive success and dramatic stories of rags to riches. You don't need to be a slick salesperson. You don't need a certification, although I think you got to go through a certification program, but not for the certification. We'll get into that in a little bit. But you certainly don't need a certification to cause somebody to say yes to you. Like nobody's going to ask you, where did you get your certification? And then run the numbers. They don't know what the answer is anyway. Like if you say, oh, I got my certification from ABC company, they don't know what it means. So they don't care. It doesn't matter. And nobody's ever asked me where I got certified unless they were also a coach and they wanted to compare certifications. So I've made $7 million+ without anybody asking me where I got certified. They don't care. So it's not for that reason for people to say yes to you. You don't need a big, gigantic social media platform or marketing machine or some kind of huge team or strategy. You don't need this big online course. You don't need previous clients. You don't need a ton of testimonials. Everybody started with no clients and no testimonials at some point. You don't need this high ticket offer. You don't need all the sales funnels. You don't need the marketing templates. You don't need this proven sales strategy from some celebrity client or celebrity example. You don't need a bunch of viral content with thousands or hundreds of thousands or millions of engagement metrics. You don't need this gigantic community of people. And the reason you don't need that stuff is because of who you are trying to help. And by the way, I should have said this at the very beginning. This whole presentation is for those of you that want to do deep work coaching. Now, that doesn't mean deep, like super deep and traumatic and emotional and stuff like that. If you want to do that, you can. But just deep work, like the actual real stuff that's going to change people's lives. Nobody will ever change their life on the surface. That's not a thing. That's not possible. If you want to do surface level coaching, I will celebrate you. I will root for you. I just won't teach you because that's not my thing. It doesn't fulfill me. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just not my lane. If you want to teach people how to make money, if you want to teach people how to create Amazon stores, if you want to teach people how to flip houses in the real estate market, those kinds of things, surface level, fantastic. I don't have anything bad to say about it. It's just a different lane. So everything I'm talking about is 100% required if we're talking about deeper work coaching. If you really want to help somebody fundamentally change their life, then you have to understand that society is different. Like the marketing, I believe we've all been traumatized. You tell me in the chat, do you believe that you've been traumatized over the last several years with marketing? I mean, we're seeing ads come at us all the time. I'm sure most of you have the same experience that we've been talking about with people all over the place where like you say something, your phone hears you say something. Tell me if you've had this experience. You know you didn't type anything in, but you know you were talking about something to somebody, and then you start seeing ads on YouTube and Facebook about the thing you were talking about. I remember not too long ago, I was talking to a friend of mine about INFJ, which is one of the most uncommon Myers-Briggs combinations, right? We were just talking about it. Phones were in our pocket. We weren't even looking at anything. Literally a half hour later, I got all kinds of ads on YouTube about INFJ. Like what? So what this means is we are being bombarded. We are being overwhelmed. We have created a level of distrust, and most of us are showing up guarded. Tell me, when you are online, when you are, especially social media, you tell me if you are scrolling to engage or if you are scrolling to ignore. Most people are scrolling to ignore. Would you guys agree with that? So what that means is, because of the way we've been getting marketed to, we show up guarded. We show up trying to block ourselves from all these time-wasting things. And that wasn't the case 10 years ago. It was not the case. And I'm old enough in this market to know, because I was building a business back then. That wasn't the case. I've seen this market change specifically over the last 5 years, even more accelerated over the last 2. And if the marketing has changed, you have to meet the market. Coaching specifically, in the coaching world specifically, people are even more distrusting, because in order for you to help me change my life, I need to trust you. There has to be a connection here, but people are more disconnected than ever. There has to be a commitment to what it is that I really want to do, but people are more disconnected, more uncommitted, because we're talking about all this surface level stuff. We're being bombarded by all this, all the marketing and all that stuff, and we're not paying attention. We're just not paying attention. And it's all happening up here, up in our intellect. So this is the effect of humanity over the last few years. And that's why it's harder to sell coaching now if you follow the old patterns. And by old, I mean anything like mid 2021 and earlier, right? Anything like a year ago or earlier, it's old. It becomes obsolete because society is constantly changing. However, there are fundamentals that you can follow. It's not sexy. Fundamentals are not sexy, but the outcomes of fundamentals are sexy. You know, that coach that just told us that she made $13,000? That's some sexy stuff. But what she followed was just fundamentals. So what do you actually need? This is the strategy. There's a 3-part strategy of what you actually need to get coaching clients. And some of you might be disappointed when you see this list, because it's not going to be sexy. But it works. It's the only thing that I've ever seen actually works. It's not high drama. It's not high fantasy. It's just fundamentals. You need a conversation with the human being. You need a clear offer to give them. But this is the piece that almost nobody has. You need certainty. If you have a clear offer without certainty, it's probably not going to work. But you can have certainty without a clear offer. And you'd be surprised at how many people will demand that you create an offer for them on the spot because they need you to help them change their lives. You can have a conversation, but not certainty. And sometimes you can have certainty and hardly even have a conversation. And people follow certainty. Now, certainty is lower than, it's deeper than confidence. What most of us are chasing is confidence. Oh yeah, and you need a way to accept payment. What most people are chasing is actually not the thing that's the problem. So if it's not the thing that's a problem, it's not going to be the solution. And what we want to offer you is the actual solution. It's not sexy. Mastery is not sexy. If you wanted to become a virtuoso piano player, you know what somebody's going to tell you to do? Sit down and touch the keys and keep touching them, and you're going to mess up a bunch. But if you need to be really, really good before you start hitting the keys, you'll never start. If you wanted to be a doctor, you know what somebody will tell you? Get really good at being a doctor. That's what you need to do. And then all the other stuff comes afterwards, right? I mean, could you imagine wanting to be a doctor and then seeing a bunch of ads that says, hey, I'm going to teach you how to get somebody on your operating table by Tuesday. You don't have to go through that. I mean, seriously, who has time for medical school? I have an idea. I've had this idea for a long, long time. Like, I want to do an infomercial that is totally just making fun of the ads that we see in personal development and coaching, but put it in the medical field industry, or put it in the law industry. Hey, you want to be a lawyer? I'm going to give you the super duper secret done for you marketing template that will have somebody in your courtroom so you can argue on their behalf by Monday. You know, you don't have to pass the bar exam. Who wants to do that? You don't have to get really good at being a doctor. I'm going to teach you how to get somebody to say yes to you doing heart surgery on them next week. It's ridiculous what we chase when you really look at it and compare to other industries. But the reason is because there is no consensus on what it takes to succeed as a coach. When there's no consensus, there's a bunch of argument over what it is, because there isn't some organization that says, this is what you have to do legally. This is what you have to do. And if you don't do this, you don't get to play coach. There's no such thing. So because of that, there's a bunch of arguing over what it actually takes, right? So Michelle and I were talking. And Ann, I want to hear from you in a moment if you're ready to share a little bit. Michelle and I were talking earlier, and I said, so we have to make a decision and just commit to it. We're either going to commit to dressing up the truth in a way that doesn't intimidate people or doesn't scare people, and like maybe make it sound like what they want it to be. Like, let's dress up the truth with a little bit of fantasy, you know? Let's put a wig, like let's put a little bit of fantasy makeup on it. Let's put a little bit of fantasy wrapping on it, because that's what people want, right? And the reality is, first of all, I would make both of us vomit if we ever did that. And as soon as you came into our doors, if you have that expectation, you're going to hate what we do. You're not going to like what we do because we put a different sign on the door than the curriculum that we're teaching inside. And we could probably increase sales, right? Because people want to buy the fantasies, but we would also increase frustration. We would increase failure. We would increase refunds. You know, one of the things that I'm really proud of is that almost nobody asks for a refund, because you know what you're going to get. And we deliver exactly what we tell you we're going to deliver. And then the question is, are you going to say yes to the truth? Are you going to say yes to yourself? And if you say yes to the truth, then when the truth happens, you will go, oh yeah, that's what they said was going to happen. But when you say yes to fantasy, and I've done this many times, let me know if you've done this too. When you say yes to something that you hope is true, or you buy somebody's story and something else happens that doesn't match your expectations, do you ever feel like you were lied to? Or do you ever feel like, I'm not experiencing what they said I was going to experience, so maybe I'm doing it wrong? Maybe I'm the problem here? What I'll tell you is that almost all of you are doing it right. You're experiencing the exact thing that you need to experience. You are a leader in the making. All the fears that you have will make you a better coach. All the insecurities that you have will make you a better coach. I don't really have hardly any interest in helping somebody who doesn't give a damn about the work that they do enough to feel insecure, enough to feel like an imposter, enough to wonder if they're good enough to help somebody with their lives. If you don't have those doubts, if you don't have those fears inside of you, I will do what I can to induce them inside of you before I try to take any of you who are having those things and get rid of them, because I know that your insecurities make you a better coach. They make you a better leader. At some point in time, I'm going to do something, whether it's a book or some other kind of content called the insecure influencer, because I know that you can use your insecurities to influence more people because everybody has insecurities. So if you want to help people who have insecurities, do you think you should have them too? Or do you want to be the person that doesn't have any challenges and then try to help the people that do, right? If I'm going to choose somebody to help me, I want to know they've been through the mud a little bit. If I'm going to get on your airplane, I want to know that you have flown out of a hurricane. I don't give a damn if you scored 100 on the flight simulator test. I want to know that you've been in rough skies. That's what I want to know. I don't want you to be perfect. I want you to be bruised. I want you to be battered. That's what I want to know. What people want to know nowadays is, are you flawed? And can you help me, who is also flawed, continue to go anyway? So the things that show up as warning signs or as resistance or as obstacles are the very things that make you better as a leader. They're the very things that will make you resonate with people more. They're the very things that will make people trust you. And we distrust now more than ever. So one of the most important things you have to do as a coach is regain people's trust. Every doubt that you have helps you do that. Every fear that you have helps you do that. All the insecurities help you do that. Your imposter syndrome helps you do that. All those wonderings about whether you can do this or not, or do you look the right part, and what should you charge, and all these questions that you have based on insecurities, those make you a better leader if you keep going through them, and if you lean into them and you keep going in spite of them. Don't try to get rid of all those things. I don't want to help you. I will never help anybody try to get rid of fear, try to get rid of the welcome signs toward growth and mastery. I celebrate that stuff. Somebody says, hey, I had an idea and then I started wondering whether I'm good enough to do this. I'm celebrating that. That means you give a damn. That means you actually care enough that you wonder if you're able to fulfill the thing that you want to help people with. That's solid, you guys. That's good. That's an invitation to build your stability and build your capacity. That's the sign of a really, really good coach, according to what our society needs now. So please don't use the existence of anything that feels negative to you as the obstacle that you need to get over or that you need to remove before you take action. Just pick it up and go with it. Don't try to jump over the hurdles, pick them all up, because that's actually what's going to make you better as a coach, and it will make you more successful faster if you understand the game that we're playing. So I'm going to hop off this soapbox momentarily. I want to hear from Ann. I want you guys to hear from Ann. And then we're going to talk about some programs that we have, and I'm going to make an invitation to you, and I want you to really dissect your commitment to yourself, your commitment to your clients, what it is that you want to do with all of this stuff. But I would love to hear from you. You are the epitome of everything that we are talking about. Would you agree with that? Like, Ann is this work. She has done like all the things that we're saying, and I don't think, Ann, you have anything on that list that we said you don't need to have. So you've been here the whole time. You've been listening to all the stuff that we said. You've been watching the slides. Share whatever it is that you want to share about your story, about your journey, based on this whole conversation.
Thank you, Sean. Hi, Michelle. Hello, everyone. So Sean was talking about, first of all, let me say everything that he said so far, yes, it's true. One thing that was not so true that he said is that exactly what he told you he's going to give you, it's not true. He gives you more than he says he's going to give you. So just that little bit of correction. And so I really want to start from, I know you were talking about the butterfly and the caterpillar stage, the chrysalis stage. and moving on. The other thing about a butterfly is that when it has a fully formed butterfly, its wings cannot be changed. And so with that in mind, and this is something I wasn't even aware of, but with that in mind, it means that the chrysalis stage is important, and where you are and the process that you go through for your chrysalis stage, whatever that looks like, it's important where you're hanging, right? Or whose care you're in. And so for me, going through the course with Sean and Michelle, that was my chrysalis stage, right? So I had a soul family and they took care of me. It's important because as I am forming, the wings that I have cannot be changed. So if it's messed up, if they take you out before, if they don't understand what's going on with you. So I was doing the class and, you know, at one point, Michelle did something because I was not at home in my body. This is not a part of the course, but this is because she embodies mastery as well. So she realized, okay, this is something a little bit more than what is written on the curriculum. And so she was able to do that. This is important because when I am called as a coach to serve, I am also aware of people who are not in their bodies. And Sean spoke about the story, your story being good enough. The thing about coaching that I learned from Michelle and Sean was that you and your story is the most important part of you being a coach. And that's why you don't need all of the things that Sean spoke about, the $500 website and different things like that. The other thing is when you work with Sean and Michelle is that, first off, they make you aware, right? So they make you aware of where you are. I'm just going to tell you the process a little bit. And then once you become aware of what's going on, why you're procrastinating, why you're not trusting yourself, why you don't have boundaries, why, and I'm saying these things because this is part of some of the things that they have helped me through. Now, if I were to tell you all of the steps and all of the emotional damage and hurt that Sean and Michelle has helped me through, that will be a different seminar or webinar. But I just want to just mention those things as, so you become aware of it. And then they are able to take you back to the time when it began, right? And that's great. A lot of people do that, but they don't leave you there, right? They make you understand what happened, and then they allow you to change that story. And that's good. But then when you change the story, they bring you back, you know, or forward through your timeline, changing every single story, the things you did at 10, the things you did as a teenager, because of what you took certain stories to mean when it happened earlier on in your childhood. And then they take you through your young adult part. Maybe you were in a domestic violent relationship, right? They make you help you to understand that. Then they help you and they take you along the timeline so you understand even sometimes the job that you're doing it because this is what somebody else wanted. And so they take you through that and then they bring you now back up to speed. So now you're aware. You've gone to the place where all of these things happen. You've changed or reframed those stories, and now you're here. Great. They don't leave you there. The other thing that they do is that they help you now that you're here, now that you're just about ready to come out of the chrysalis, and your wings are truly getting ready. Your wings are already formed now, right? And you're getting ready to fly. They help you choose and understand what is for you. And in that choosing, this is where the certainty comes in. And the only reason you could be certain is because you were in the chrysalis. So the people that you're going to help is through their chrysalis stage or through the dark road that they are on. Right? So you would have gone through that. You understand it. You understand it. So if they say, oh my God, you know, I was going to, I can't make the coaching call. You understand resistance. You understand that they are scared. Right? And then so these are some of the things that Sean and Michelle, they help you through as well. And the most important thing I would say is the certainty, because you walked and you did the work on you. So there is no mastery without you first mastering yourself. There is no mastery without you. There is no certainty without you. You are the most important part of this whole equation. All of your stories, all of the things that happened to you. For me, it was childhood trauma. For me, it was that mother wound. right? And so these are the things that I now am able to help my clients with. The other thing is, as a veteran, I got damaged, and so now also helping veterans as well understand that they can also become whole. So all of my bad things or negative things, these are the things that I have certainty in to help others or to guide others, because this is what I was able to help myself with.
And can I ask if you would share just a few more details about, you said you were damaged in as a veteran. Your story is so powerful, and I would love for people to really fully understand where you were just recently and where you are now as a coach. But if you don't mind, share whatever it is that you want. And, you've got some tender details, but if you'd expand on that, I would love it.
Okay. So the damage is that I was in the military and I fell 40 flights. So 40 stories to my death, was dead for 3 days. And I'm here today. When I started with Sean and Michelle, I was not clear about a lot of things. I wasn't cleared for school. I wasn't cleared for learning, and I'm still not cleared for learning. I'm saying all of this could be your story, and you could still be certain about the work that you can do as a coach.
Thank you, Anne. Anne was diagnosed with traumatic brain injury. And your story is just so incredibly inspiring. And recently you were on the line with somebody and just helping them out. And tell the story briefly, if you don't mind, of your recent client.
So a part of the work is that we need to do 30 hours with customers or clients or people. And so, I helped one person, and about a week later, she called me and she said, she's been thinking since we spoke that she wanted more of that. So we made an appointment. I spoke with her. I said, more of what? She said, well, you said some profound things. And that one session that we had really caused some things to stir up in me. And I said, okay, so what would you like to do? So she said, okay, well, what would it take? I said, well, we can do bi-weekly or we can do weekly. What would you like? So she said, okay, she thinks it's better if she does weekly. At that point, I did not, because this is just, I'm not even finished with the certification. So I didn't have like a course. I didn't have a package. I didn't have a price. I didn't have a frame. I didn't have content. I did not have a website. And so we talked, and at that point, just before I got on the phone, I said, okay, well, I'll charge $50. And then I didn't feel comfortable with the $50. So I went in the mirror. Now, working with Sean and Michelle, you're going to get used to the mirror. Okay. You're going to be able to look at yourself. You're going to get real with yourself, and you're going to be able to get the answers. So I went in the mirror and it said, okay, add a 0. I'm like, okay, this is the first coaching person. I said, okay, you know what? Let me just go with it. And so we did the process. We talked on the phone, and at the end, she asked, and I told her the price. And I was ready, in case it wasn't a fit, that I would change it. And so I said, okay, so it's $5,000. And she said, oh, okay. And was very happy and ready to pay the price. And I have found that people pay for that they are certain that you can help them.
I love you. You just have me coming out of my skin every time that you talk about your story. It's so ridiculously inspiring. And what Michelle just typed in the chat, I think, is really important. Conversation plus certainty equals client. Like, not all the other stuff. Conversation plus certainty. So just to highlight what Anne said, she wasn't even looking for clients. She was just fulfilling her practice. She was just getting free coaching practice in the program. and was giving this lady so much value that the lady is the one that asked, basically, can we make this a thing? And it's the certainty in Ann's body that went from 50 to 500 and then blurted out 5,000 and didn't even get a hiccup from the woman because she experienced value. If you try to sell people before you give them value, that's going to be really, really difficult. But most of the sales tactics are that. It's what can you do to get people to say yes before they've even experienced you. You got to have these slick sales skills. Let me know if this is landing for you, if this makes sense to you, because when we really break it down, there are two different ways to sell. One of them is pre-experience and the other is post-experience. Ann got a $5,000 client post-experience because she was really good as a coach, not because she was even trying to get clients. Almost everybody is trying to get clients pre-experience. And the reason that is so critical is because it is way harder to sell pre-experience. It's way harder because you're selling expectations. You're not selling experience. So the main reason when it comes to sales, the main reason that most coaches really struggle and have fears of sales is because they're trying to sell pre-experience. They're trying to sell expectations. It's actually hard to give people a really good experience and not end up with a client. And here's the good thing. It's not difficult to learn how to give people a phenomenal coaching experience, but you have to learn that first. And what most people are trying to do is actually overcompensate for the lack of certainty. What I want to convince you of is that your certainty, to Ann's point, and thank you, Ann, for coming on. Everybody, please give Ann some love. If she said anything that landed for you and that was super helpful, I know some of you already put some comments in there. And thank you for being willing to show up. And, you know, we just asked Ann if she would just show up and share a little bit of her heart. And she's like, yeah, of course, whatever. Like there was no script or she didn't even know when she was coming on. So thank you for just showing up and speaking from your certainty. What we wanted to, you're absolutely welcome. What we wanted you guys to see, and we have a bunch of Anns that we could bring up. Like they're actually all over the place. Like people that are doing the work and then picking up clients on the side, picking up clients part-time. But you have to be good first. And most marketing programs actually feed into the insecurities that we have in ourselves. When we feel insecure in ourselves, we are a little bit more desperate to overcompensate for that insecurity. Is this making sense for you guys? I want this to be really clear. When we have some insecurity in ourselves, meaning we don't have full certainty in the product, we're more desperate. And then what we choose in that desperation actually feeds the wrong cycle. It's like being addicted to drugs and then you just want one more hit. That drug is going to make the cycle worse. In your mind, it's like just one more thing and then I'm going to get off tomorrow, right? But that cycle, because the decision is being made from a place of insecurity, the choices that we'll make from that insecurity is actually going to feed the cycle. So here's the main concept that I want you all to really get out of this. And then we're going to talk about some of our programs, and we're going to stick around for a while, you guys, and go as deep as we possibly can. Well, maybe not as we possibly can, because we go days and days and days. But we're going to continue this conversation and answer some of the questions you guys have. But the main thing that I want you to get is that, and Ann said it, you are your most important ingredient. You are the thing that you've got to bet on. And I think we all know this. But this is why anything external doesn't work for us, because we know on some level that we are the most important ingredient. So I think we all need to decide, what are you going to bet on? Are you going to bet on the most important ingredient? Or are you going to keep betting on any of the others? Now, all those other things are valid ingredients. They're just not the most important one. It's like if you want to make a cake, I don't know that anything is necessarily the most important ingredient, but eggs is one of them. If you want to bake a cake and you know you need some eggs, but you're like, I just don't want to deal with that. Let me just add a little more flour. Let me add a little more sugar. Let me add a little more of the non-egg ingredients. At some point, you got to add eggs for it to work. At some point, for you to work, you need certainty in yourself. What we see is that most coaches do everything but that. So here's some clarity we landed on today. It just got so clear. We are the company that is the right choice for people who have experienced enough pain to know that I've tried that and it didn't work, and I tried that and it didn't work, and I tried that and it didn't work, and I spent money and I spent time and it didn't work. We need people who've experienced enough pain, whose noses are bloody enough, who have enough bruises, but just not too much that they've quit. We will solve that problem. And if we look at just about everybody who's come through our programs that have stories similar to Ann's, this is the story. This is Michelle's story. To some degree, it was my story. I mean, I didn't go through my own programs. So if you have been dancing, or if you have been struggling, or if you have been trying all these things and you just haven't figured it out, here's the thing I want you to get. You are not the wrong ingredient. You just haven't created the aligned recipe for you. But you are the ingredient. And once you can get to that place where you have full certainty in the work that you do, and that becomes a conviction, and you become the work and the work becomes you, and you know what this can do for people. You know, like you know. I mean, I'm looking at several of the people that I know personally have gone through this program. I mean, there's a half a dozen to a dozen people on this line. You know what's possible in human behavior change. You know it. And once you get to that place, then you have full certainty in the product. Now we can build a business around you. Am I losing you guys? Because again, I told you, like, we're gonna put the truth on the outside of the door, and then you're either gonna say yes or not. Now, whether you say yes to us or not, obviously that's up to you. But the truth is the truth, no matter what you think about it. If you choose to not go through us for this, then go through somebody else for it. But this is the only way for you to have certainty, and the only ingredient that will be the same all the time. No matter what corner you go around, the only ingredient that will follow you is you. So what if you became the thing that you trusted the most? What would that look like? I want to share with you the programs that we have. And then we have a bunch of stuff that we still want to teach. We have a bunch of stuff that we still want to talk about. So after that, we're going to stick around. Those of you that have been around any of our videos, you know, I mean, we'll stick around and we'll answer questions. And there's so many levels and layers and angles to these conversations. But I also want to share with you, we're a little over an hour into this conversation. I also want to share with you some of the potential solutions for you guys, some of our certification programs to actually do this work. And then we'll get back into the conversation, answer questions, etc. But before I do that, I want to share with you something that I haven't shared in a really long time. And I've only shared it a few times. And it was a choice point in my life. Now I'm going to share with you the real numbers, not to try to impress you, because that doesn't matter, but just to be true to this moment in my life. I'm just going to share with you the exact numbers that this is a note that I wrote to myself, and I'm just going to share with you as is. This is a moment where I had an opportunity to invest a giant amount of money into a program, and I want to open up the decision that I made. For some of you, this is going to speak to you, and you're going to choose to say yes to yourself or to an opportunity, whether it's ours or somebody else. Some of you, maybe this is something that you need to share with somebody else. So this is a note that I wrote myself from 2014. I was in a program and I was presented with a gigantic coaching plan that, of course, I wanted to do, but it was just a little bit south of $100,000. For context, that was more than 25% of my yearly revenue in my business. I was already making nearly $500,000 in business, about 350, a little bit shy of 400 at that time. So when I talked to my wife that night, we decided against it because we didn't have that money. So I slept on it, but when I woke up the next morning, something was stirring in my belly, and I ate breakfast, and then I started crying on the way back to my room. And through those tears, I knew that I didn't need to say yes for my business to collect any information. I needed to say yes for my soul. I needed to say yes to me. I knew this opportunity was going to grow me. And if I said no to this opportunity for growth, I would keep saying no to all opportunity for growth. And I thought again of my wife, Sybil, and my two kids, McKenna and Exley. And even though our relationships were incredible and fulfilling, I knew in my heart that I was letting them down. I was letting them down because I had been sitting on the bench for 7 years. Since I filed bankruptcy in 2008, after our business completely collapsed. And I sat on that bench and I watched my peers play the game. And I pretended that I didn't want to play the game, that I was content on the bench, but I wasn't. In truth, I was scared. I was scared to get in the batter's box and strike out and have my family watch me fail and drag my bat in the dirt, head down so nobody saw the tears under the bill of my hat on that long, slow, embarrassing walk back to the bench that I had taken so many times before. And in those 7 years, I had decided that it was easier to just stay on the bench. But that morning, I realized that having my family watch me sit on the bench is worse than them watching me strike out. So I decided that I needed to say yes. And I'm not going to wait for my coach to put me in the game. I'm going to get off this goddamn bench and I'm going to grab my bat and I'm going to run to the batter's box because it's my time. And I might strike out, but my kids are going to watch me swing that bat. And nobody is going to teach them that it's okay to sit on the bench, including me. Trigger warning, bad word coming. And then I read my sacred message to myself called "Fuck Mediocrity." And I said yes. Now, the continuation of that story is I still didn't have the money. But I said yes and I generated the money. But it wasn't saying yes to a thing. It was saying yes to me. And every successful person I know and every successful choice I've ever made, I know this is true for Michelle as well, I'm sure it's true for most of you, is when you say yes to yourself, you will always be the safest bet. You will always be the most important ingredient. And your trust in yourself and your certainty in yourself is what will make other people bet on themselves as well. So I don't share that story to get you to say yes to my program. I share that story to get you to say yes to you. Because most of us, whether you resonate with that baseball analogy, I was a baseball player for 18 years. So that walk back to the bench is in my bones. And I spent my entire baseball career doing everything I could to not strike out. That was my mission, is to not strike out. And I played it safe in my business for a long time. And I sat myself on the bench so that I wouldn't have the embarrassment of striking out, until there was a big enough reason. For me, it came through my family. Until there was a big enough reason to recognize somebody's watching and somebody's learning. And what am I teaching them? So whatever message is in there for you, take it and bet on yourself, and be an advocate for other people to bet on themselves. If any of this is landing for you, and you want to be a coach, and you find yourself stuck with any of the struggles that we've been talking about, we've created programs because of all of this. We've created programs that say that answer the question, what are most people missing? And I've been in this game of coaching for a long, long time. When people come to me and they try to figure out, they ask me questions and they're saying, like, I don't understand how to sell, and I don't understand what to price, and I don't understand what to do here, and I don't understand all this stuff. I'm telling you 100% of the time, my realization and what I generally tell them is, you don't believe in yourself. It doesn't matter. It does not matter what you create externally if you don't believe in the product. And I had somebody recently say she realized that she actually sabotaged herself because she was afraid of people saying no. She had the fear of rejection. She had the fear of failure. But what she realized, she was actually more afraid of people saying yes. So she was trying to push herself through the fear of failure to get to the fear of success. She was trying to push herself through the fear of people saying no to land inside the terror of people saying yes. Why in the hell would she ever do anything if the only options are things that she's afraid of? This is what most people are missing. So what we've created are programs to solve that problem. And I want you, on the end of your coaching certification, through us or through somebody else, I want you on the end of it to come out certain. Anne wasn't even at the looking for clients stage. And somebody's like, I need, don't leave me here. I need more. And we could tell you story after story about people who get clients from their practice people because they give so much damn value. And then you can have a lot of the sexy success. But it's got to come from you giving people really good value first. So what we teach is not how to coach as much as how to understand human transformation. Coaching is a part of that, but you have to understand what causes people to transform. You have to understand the behavior underneath the behavior. What most coaching certifications do is focus on behavior change. What do I say when people ask me this question? when people are dealing with this challenge in their life, how do you coach them? What we realized just literally like a couple of weeks ago, you guys, is that one of the key ingredients that we have in our coaching program is an understanding of human behavior. And when you understand human behavior, then you can do the coaching work, because the coaching work sits on top of the human behavior. But if all you understand is the coaching work, the what to do's and when to do them and how to do them, and if basically you're just following somebody else's recipe or trying to regurgitate a coaching demo that you've seen, you don't understand human behavior. And one of the things, or you don't necessarily need to understand human behavior to memorize the coaching scripts. And one of the things that we believe completely, and we teach all the time, is that your coaching script will never survive collision with a human. Right, Bob? I see you. I saw your reaction to that. Your script will never survive collision with a human. Not once, never. You will never do two coaching processes the same. Your predictions about what it's going to go, about how it's going to go, will be right 0% of the time. So then what are you going to fall back on? If you put all of your trust and all of your confidence in the coaching scripts, in above the water, when you meet humans, you will be disrupted. But that's when the coaching actually starts. So what we have are coaching certification programs that are really about human behavioral change. That's what this is about. Let me pull up my slides again. And how are you doing, guys, by the way? How's this landing for you? Give me a little bit of feedback. I know we've been rolling here. We're moving into the hour and a half-ish neighborhood. And if you only knew what was in my head, and I know what's in Michelle's head and heart, like what we're not saying, right? Like the depth of so many of these conversations we want to just dive all in on. Because there's real depth. I was trying to find another word for depth, but there's so much depth in mastery, but it's actually where the simplicity lands, right? Like the deeper we go, the simpler it becomes. But most of us just aren't willing to really play below the surface. So let me share my screen again.
I hope you saw in chat. It's really, really resonating. People are doing good. It's great. Leslie said your energy is the sun. Lizanja is even more excited for ECCP. And Anne is using this as evidence of what she said, which is you always over deliver. I added the always, but she said over delivers. It's real.
Well, I appreciate that. You know, that one of the reasons that makes me really excited is because that means that you guys are willing to still stick around and listen to this conversation, and you're interested in the truth, you know, and we don't say that from an egotistical standpoint. We say that from wisdom. We just say that from looking back going, why do people actually fail and what causes people to actually succeed? Let's just go ahead and tell the truthful story. And then a lot of people are not ready, or for whatever reason, they're not going to say yes, that's fine. But at least we're going to tell the truthful story so that if and when people do say yes, they know exactly what they're saying yes to. And the most important thing you can invest in beyond yourself is the support for you to do the work with yourself. That's what you need more of. You don't need more information. You don't need more tactics. You don't need more funnels. You don't need more marketing skills. You don't need more campaigns. You don't need that stuff. What you need is certainty and conviction in this work that you can do, and then light yourself on fire, build a business around who you really are. And this can work, and you can make the extra money part-time. You don't have to jump into full-time. So let me tell you a little bit about ECCP. And it's a little bit, right? It is a little bit, because this is a gigantic offering. And it's 12 years in the making. ECCP this is the depth of the work that we're talking about. And this isn't just a single coaching modality. This is the deep dive, scuba diving experience of human behavior, of understanding what makes us tick. And by the way, all of our programs are designed to where you can't go through them without you going through them, right? You can't go through this car wash without your car getting washed, without your healing, without your challenges getting coached. And that's why so many people are saying over and over and over again, Anne mentioned it a little bit today, that you will change during this process. Your life will shift because you're learning how to change lives. And so you're going to experience this. ECCP is 5 days deep dive, and it's coming up soon. As of the recording of this, we're starting in what, 10 days? 11 days? Oh my goodness. It's coming up quick. We're starting soon. It's September 6th through the 10th. We'll talk about the dates and give you the details here in a moment. But these are 5 days. It's all online. It's experiential learning. So you're going to experience as a client, as a student, the work, but you're also going to experience you learning as a coach. Deep stuff, the skills and the strategies and all the comprehensive coaching, but full immersion training, 4 levels of mastery. You learning the information, you seeing the information, you receiving it as the client, and then you practicing it as the coach. And I'm going to add a 5th dimension there, the immersion of just being in the ocean of transformation. It's impossible for you to go through that experience in 5 days and not be fundamentally shifted 5 days later. It's impossible. If you think it's possible, please try to be the first. It's designed for you to understand with comprehension. We teach to comprehension. We don't teach to comfort. We don't teach to regurgitation. We don't teach to recitation. We don't teach to memory. We teach for comprehension, which is what people need from you. Our brand of coaching is called neurotransformational coaching. That is helping people change their neurology, helping people feel things that they never felt before, access things that they haven't accessed before or in a long, long time, helping people dissolve things that are dissolvable that they no longer want to feel, traumas, fears, certain kinds of fears. You're not ever going to get rid of all fear, but you can overcome a lot of our challenges with this internal work, with the inside out work, with the increase of certainty, especially. There are plenty of things that we can dissolve and have a fundamental change in our experience on the planet, you guys. This always gets me when I say this. You can make sounds with your mouth and change the way somebody experiences the rest of their life on this planet. I've never done anything other than make sounds with my mouth. I mean, we've done live events and put people in experiences and exercise. It's still just sounds. Like, you can make sounds with your mouth and change the way people experience the rest of their lives on the planet. I mean, Andy told us a couple of days ago in one of the videos that we did that one of his clients no longer beats his family. No longer beats his wife and 7 kids. Because Andy made sounds. That's what he did. Like, the story is good enough. The story is good enough. Jennifer said she grew more in 5 days than she had in 5 years. That's because we go deep into the roots. We understand what's actually happening systemically. What are our belief systems? What are our value systems? What are our decision-making systems? You have to make system changes, not symptom changes. You have to make system changes if you're going to shift the way that you or other people experience their lives. You can't just keep painting apples orange and pretend that you have an orange tree. But you can uproot the rotten apple tree and replant or just reveal the orange tree that was already there. You can make these systemic changes from inside out. Yolande's been a bunch of times. Look at that second line. She says, I know that I can help anyone. I know that I can help anyone. So this is 5-day. It's online. You're going to get well over 20 coaching tools, exercises, strategies. You're going to get a reference manual here that is 180 pages. Is that what you said it was, Michelle? Closing in on 200 pages. A lot of people use this as their manual, their coaching Bible. It got all kinds of stuff written in it and pages earmarked, and like people will just use that and do coaching sessions with folks. I mean, that's a lot. That's 18 plus years right there. That's in that manual. The 4 levels of mastery I already talked about. You can go to that website that's on the screen, coachseansmith.com/ECCP if you want. Carnell says the absolute representation of the word transformation. There are no words that can ever describe what we experienced. The level of connection is like, it truly is hard to articulate. This is one of my favorite quotes from Michelle. ECCP is everything you didn't know that you needed to do, what you didn't know you weren't doing. Michelle, why don't you come in and explain either that or add whatever it is that you want to add to the conversation?
Well, I don't want to have these people be here for another 10 hours if I add everything I want to add into this conversation. What I mean by the statement is that for so many of us, and I did this in a different industry, this behavior pattern, we're looking for the things to do from the perspective that we have when we're not doing the things, right? So we're trying to use the problem to figure out the answer to the problem. And it doesn't work that way, right? And what I recognize, and I was having such a challenging time figuring out how to capture the essence of ECCP. And I'm going to say this, and I think it also, in your words, can translate to the message that we're wanting to give our clients, right? Because they too need to understand that this is something that you're not necessarily looking for, because it's not, like Sean said earlier, it's just not it's just not what we're taught. It's not what we're programmed. We're taught and programmed to look outside of ourselves. And then when we get enough of the stuff from outside of ourselves, we can bring it into ourselves. And then maybe at that point, we'll do the thing that we hear, right? Like, I know I need to go to this training, or I know I need to invest in a private coach, and I'll get to that once I do all of this other stuff. And I tried that route. Like I really, really did. I spent my entire direct sales career trying to look good, really trying to not look bad. I wasn't trying to be good. I wasn't trying to feel good. I wasn't trying to do good. I wasn't even trying to live good. I was just trying on the outside to look good. And there's so many coaches that do the same thing here. And what I recognized just in a single moment was that this training with these humans in this space was actually everything that I didn't know that I needed to help me do all of the things that I actually didn't realize I wasn't doing.
Yeah.
I didn't know what was possible because I didn't know what I didn't know until I did.
Yeah, that's a really important piece. And, truthfully, it's a difficult conversation to have, because it's hard for us to value what we don't know we need. And so when we don't know what we actually need, we just default to what we hope we need, or we default to what we want, or we default to what we want to need. We default to comfort. We default to things that we can understand. And so it's actually really difficult. And this is just based on human growth and evolution. This isn't anybody's fault. This doesn't make you dumb or anything like that. It's just that it's really difficult. It's like trying to explain to the caterpillar what it's going to be like to fly as a butterfly. It cannot understand that. It will not ever understand that. So if the caterpillar needs to understand what it's going to be like to fly like a butterfly before it enters the chrysalis, it will never enter the chrysalis because it will never check that box. And I think all of us would look back on something that we learned in our lives, and on the back side of the lesson, we go, oh yeah, that's what I needed to learn. But on the front side of the lesson, that's not what you thought you needed to learn. So that's what makes wisdom somewhat challenging, because it's hard to value what we don't know we actually need. Hopefully that's making sense to you guys. I see Bob say, most of us want in the beginning what and how to coach. Exactly. I hear Sean saying to believe in ourselves, being an authentic self. Being is what's important. Yes. That's it. That's it. And what it actually takes to get coaching clients is not as difficult as what most people think. It just takes reality. It takes realness. It takes authenticity. It takes a level of vulnerability, but it takes an understanding of this work. So we're going to go through these inner work exercises, understanding the system of human behavior change. We're going to talk about eliminating guilt and shame. If you just spent these 5 days and all you got out of it was to remove the weight of guilt and shame that you've been carrying around, your life would change. Like that is one of the heaviest human chains that we carry around. It is soul crushing to so many of us. And the work that we do in guilt and shame just by itself is worth the entire week. And what you'll be able to do with that going forward with yourself and with your clients. Alicia just said it completely changed her life. Jordan asks, what are the hours of the training? I love David said, what have I just stepped into? I don't know, but if you figure it out, let me know. You just stepped into a soapbox is what you just stepped into. The hours of the training are 9 a.m. to roughly, it's about a full hour, regular or full day, like regular, about 9 to 5 Pacific time, roughly 9 to 5. For any of you that are in different time zones, it's all online. And one of the benefits of that is it's all recorded. So if you're in Europe or you're in Australia, or you're in different time zones, we've probably had people from every time zone around the globe come to see ECCP. And some people will spend like the first 4 hours because it's like midnight to 4 a.m. or 8 a.m. or 8 p.m. to midnight or something, and then go to bed, but then wake up and watch the rest of the day that they missed, and then show back up again, later in the night for the beginning of the day. So whatever time zone you're in, it can work, because we've had somebody in your time zone, I promise you, go through ECCP. That's one of the benefits of it all being online. We know people have challenges and you might have stuff that you've got going on during the week. We don't want you to just show up in between appointments here and there, because you're not going to get out of it what you could. But if you're not there every single minute of every single hour of every single day, that's totally fine. A lot of people aren't, but they still get a ton out of it because of the way that we've delivered. Oh, and this will be the fifth one online, either the fourth or the fifth one. So we've done it multiple times online and we have polished it pretty well. So we're going to talk about expanding your awareness, overcoming your limiting beliefs, releasing pain, timeline therapy, which is one of the trademarks of neuro-linguistic programming, and just so much more. I mean, we can't put it into words, like all the things that you're going to experience, because it wouldn't matter anyway if we try to put it into words, and every ECCP is different. Here are some of the pictures from some of the ECCPs in the past. Everyone is different because every group is different. And so we give the group what the group needs. So this upcoming ECCP is September 6th through the 10th. Now, I know for some of you, this is just around the, well, for all of us, it's just around the corner. You might not have heard about it till right now, or you just can't make these dates. If you join ECCP, you'll have a ticket that lasts 2 years. And we do these every 6 months. We took the last 6 months off for reasons that don't matter right now, but we will do these every 6 months. So you'll have at least 3 other opportunities to cash in on your ticket, so to speak. And if you know you can't do this, but you want to attend ECCP in the future, stick around because we're going to offer some pretty sexy bonuses that you can get now, and you can even participate in some of the things now, even if you don't come to ECCP until next year or the week after or the year after. So we have a package here because I do want to incentivize you, right? We're not going to put a bunch of sugar coating on top of this and turn it into some fantasy, but we do also want to incentivize you. From now until August 28th, Sunday, August 28th, get into ECCP. You'll also get BCC. I'm going to explain what BCC here is in a moment. It is the online, it's like transformational coaching 101 sort of, right? It's like the introduction, and ECCP is the second level. So I'm talking to you about the second level right now. BCC is level 1. And so BCC is included in this price of ECCP. I'm going to explain to you what the whole price is in a moment. BCC is included, but we're going to do BCC over again. Some of you don't know that yet. We're going to do BCC over again. We filmed BCC, I think 6 years ago, something like that, 5 years ago. And we're going to do BCC over again. So I don't know when it's going to actually be ready to go. We're going to film it in the next couple months. But when that's ready to go, you're going to get not just the current BCC, but you're going to get the new one also. That's just included in this price. We probably will keep selling BCC at $497, but it might go higher. I don't know. The newly redone BCC. And it's not just going to be the same stuff. It's going to be a lot of new information and polished information. And like, we're going to improve it based on, we've had 750 people or so that have gone through the program. We've gotten a lot of feedback and suggestions and all that stuff. So we've improved it. When we film BCC, what we're going to do is we're going to open it up to an audience. So you guys have an opportunity to watch us, like experience the whole creation of it before, during, and after. What that means is we're going to have at least a few meetings, strategy meetings about what are we going to change in BCC. You'll be invited to those strategy meetings behind the scenes for us as a company to go, what's working, what's not working, what have we heard as feedback, what if we did this, what if we did that. You'll be invited to those strategy meetings. Then you'll be invited to the actual recording of BCC. You might be one of the demo clients and get some free coaching in it, or you might just watch the whole behind the scenes. I don't know how long it's going to take us, maybe take a few days or something, I don't know, but you'll watch the whole process behind the scenes. But then I think this is the most valuable piece for any of you, especially if you want to offer anything online in the future. Then you'll also be invited to the behind the scenes of how we sell BCC going forward. What kind of ads are we going to use? What kind of sales language and funnels and marketing and all that stuff? You're going to be behind the scenes and watch us go from start to finish in this entire program. And even if you don't want to put some kind of certification program online, or you don't want to do an online program at all, some of the concepts that you'll hear us talk about will help you in your messaging, or will help you in your marketing, or will help you in some area of your business. So if you are in business of any kind, it'll be so valuable for you to spend how many hours, I don't know, 20, 30 hours, maybe more, behind the scenes, us talking about this stuff, so that you can glean whatever it is that we're talking about at a deep strategic level. We don't know exactly what that program is going to look like because we haven't designed it yet. We don't know exactly what the price is going to look like. As far as actual value, I mean, thousands of dollars. I don't know. We'll probably put a $2,000 price tag on it or something like that. But you get that for as an included bonus in ECCP. So if you can't attend ECCP on the 6th through the 10th, you can still get this and get into the BCC and then attend ECCP later, right? But we're not going to include this for very long. We're actually only going to include this until August 28th. So you're going to get all the behind the scenes, all BCC. Obviously, the main value that we're talking about is ECCP. And you know what? Am I missing something here, Michelle?
Nope.
Okay, cool. So I'll tell you the price on that, and then we'll talk about breakthrough coaching certification. And I don't know if I missed the price on the slide, but the price of ECCP and then all that stuff is $24.97. So you're adding several $1,000s on top of that for ECCP in full, right? What is that?
Yes, sir. Mm-hmm.
Okay. I didn't understand the message that you just sent me. So that's the ECCP offer. I want to just briefly pull apart BCC for a few minutes and explain to you what BCC is. BCC is like the introduction of that. BCC is the introduction to neurotransformation. It's the deep work. It's a lot of the, let me go back here. It's a lot of the systems, understanding about transformation. It's a self-paced course, so you can go through it at your own pace. There's modules online. You move through it at your own pace. Some people spend a few days and go through it all. Some people take weeks or months, depending on, how long how it fits into your world. But the real value is this is the beginning of certainty in human behavior change. Right. And we do teach a lot of coaching concepts. I want you to understand BCC is like level 1 leading up to ECCP. Some of you might only be able to do ECC or BCC, breakthrough coaching certification. You might only be able to do the online thing. And that's fine if that's where you are. That's why I want to share with you the specifics around this. Oxford said, I've obtained more information from just the first module. I forgot about this one. Then I have the other 5 courses I've taken prior to this one. And he went on to get a bunch of clients actually. And just implementing some of the stuff that he learned in BCC. So BCC is its own certification course. It's just level 1 getting into level 2. Like if you want to do ECCP, then you're going to go through BCC, right? Anything you want to add to this, Michelle?
I mean, it's to me, it's just what you said when you were sharing your story and what we shared earlier. Like, this is just what we know people, coaches need in order to be able to do the work that they're wanting to do in the world. And so whether you can jump in at ECCP, whether you're able to make that happen for whatever reason, willing, committed to making it happen. Sean said in his story, and this really stood out to me because this has been true in my journey up until just really a couple of years ago, was that I made the commitment comes before the money. The commitment comes before the cash every time. The commitment comes before the cash. And so my invitation to you in this is not to filter what you're hearing through, well, I can afford this, but I can't afford that, or can I afford this, but what can I do to all of that stuff. I'm not saying it's not important things to consider. The commitment is what has to come first. And so it's an invitation back to what we said earlier, right? Are you in a place where you're ready? And it's okay if you're not. Right? We'll be here. So it's okay if you're not, but are you in a place where you're ready to bet on yourself, to make that commitment that what Sean said earlier, right? That you're the ingredient, and that understanding your human behavior will allow you and liberate you to be able to do the work that you want to do to help other humans understand theirs. And the ECCP and BCC are the paths that we know. We've seen it. We've experienced it. It's what we know works.
That's it. It's just what we know works. And it's designed to produce an outcome. And that outcome is more certainty for you. The outcome is understanding at a deep, deep level what's actually missing for most people in the coaching world and what's missing for most people in changing their life. Like this is the missing ingredient for most people, and you'll be able to handle that missing ingredient as a coach. And I can just tell you that most coaches, the reason that most coaches don't have clients is because they're missing the understanding of the human. They're not missing the understanding of coaching. They're not necessarily missing the ingredients above the surface. They're not necessarily missing the what to say and all that stuff. They're missing the understanding of when it gets messy. They're missing the understanding of when the human goes off script. That's what most people are missing. And that is what we teach so much of in BCC. And Leslie put in that BCC, she said, I couldn't believe how much I learned about the mental processes of people in BCC. If you go through BCC, I believe, and this isn't because this is, my ego talking, it's just, this is a culmination of all the work, so much of the work, at least that I've done as a person in my journey, but also as a coach. This is a culmination of all of that. I believe that you'll be better equipped than almost all coaches out there. Just by BCC, you'll be better equipped than most people because you'll understand people at a different level. That's what I think most coaching certifications don't have. It's what mine didn't have. I didn't come out knowing how to use these tools. I just knew the tools, but I didn't know when to use them, and I didn't know when not to use them. I didn't understand humans. I had to figure all that stuff out as I was actually out there doing events and doing coaching and all that stuff. And we've had a lot of people that have even gone through neurolinguistic programming training or something like that, deep dive certifications. And they said there was just some application that was missing. So this is really about the application of human behavior. And again, you can't go this stuff without changing your life. Like it's just part of the process. Danny said he paid $5,000 and $7,500 for 2 other coach training programs, and he's learned more from BCC, which is a fraction of the cost. BCC is $500. It's $497. I'll put it up against anything. And everything that we offer has a money back guarantee. So you've got 60 days in BCC. If it's not what you thought it was, and it doesn't start to change your life and help you become a more powerful, masterful coach, then let us know. We'll give you all the money back. In ECCP, you can show up for the first 2 full days. And if it's not everything that you thought it was going to be, if you don't see how it's going to completely change your life and help you in your coaching business, let us know. We'll give you all your money back. You get to keep the manual, right? You get to keep that. You don't have to send that back to us. So everything that we offer with a money back guarantee. And that's because what we teach is foundation. And I can bet on foundation all the time because foundation works only all the time. So with BCC, if you're at a place where all you can do is BCC and you don't want to jump in with ECCP, even with the extended ticket for later on and get the bonuses, but all you can do is BCC, that's fine. For now until September 5th, which is the day before ECCP starts, if you jump into BCC, you'll get the new one also. Once September 5th happens, we're not going to have that offer. So while we're in this window leading up to ECCP, you can get both of them. And it's not going to be the same program. It's not going to be like just BCC painted red and then BCC painted orange, right? It's not going to be like that. It's going to be a fundamentally different program because we're going to improve it in so many different ways. There's also a bonus called the Confident Coach, which is an audio collection that will help you get over some of the insecurities that you might have as a coach. And there's training about how to attract and identify your seeker. That is a bonus in there. But the main reason that you would want to get into BCC right now is because you get that new course going forward. So you can dive in right now. And then when the new course comes out, you can go through that again, right? And get the new improved version. Now, here's what we know. We know that these are big conversations. We know I'm moving all around over here. One of the reasons because I have one of the most painful toe cramps that I've had in a long time. So I'm over here like trying to stretch my toe. So if you see me like shifting, part of it is just because I got a lot of energy, but part of it is because my middle toe is like, we got to talk. Anyway, so I know these are big conversations. we're talking about two different programs, but they're really the same program, just stacked on top of each other, right? It's like stage 1 and then stage 2. Stage 2 is deep dive. Stage 2 is that you want to learn how to scuba dive as a coach. Jump in, attend whenever you're able to attend, but jump into the deep dive if you know you're going to get there, even if you don't have the space to do it when we're offering it right now, September 6th through the 10th. Jump in and you've got a 2-year ticket. Or BCC. And if you're just not ready, you just don't know, you have questions about where you particularly, like specifically are, then you can also book a call here, coachseansmith.com/book my call, and we'll support you as best we can individually, because we know there's lots of questions that you might have. We want to answer some of the questions here, some of the structural questions or any other questions that you might have. We're going to answer some of that stuff. We've still got some information to dive into for those of you that are really geeked out about this stuff and you want to keep going and going. We'll still go on for a little bit, even in the conversation of what it takes to change people's lives and all that kind of stuff. But specifically right now, Michelle, have you seen any comments, questions in the chat box that people have that we can answer specifically about structure, application, any of that stuff before we go back into the conversation?
Not that hasn't been answered.
Okay.
But if you do have more questions, anybody, please go ahead and type them in chat and I'm looking and we'll make sure they get answered for you. Awesome.
And so we want to answer what we can as best we can for your benefit. So I was just planning, Michelle, to go back into some of these slides that we didn't get to and dive into a few more of these things from different angles. Not different angles, but just a few more layers to some of these conversations. Unless you have a better idea or there's something else that I missed.
No, I don't think so. We'll see what
All right,
happens.
cool.
Let's start there.
Yeah, I just love when people just want the depth, when people want the dissection. So I couldn't honor you more for those of you that are still here and you want to keep going, or you have questions about yourself, about where you fit into this journey, etc. This is like, it's truly difficult to articulate the sacred journey. It's really difficult to explain in a way that the mind understands what's going on at a deeper level. So for those of you that are interested in that kind of conversation, that tells me that you're willing to go deep, and that's the only way that you're going to help anybody else with any kind of deep work. So somebody asked earlier about ICF certification. The short answer is no. I didn't go through ICF. And if you don't know what ICF is, then don't worry about it. But ICF is one of the coaching organizations out there. It's one of the biggest ones, maybe the biggest one, I don't know. But it's a common question that we get asked. And so I want to address it. Our program is not ICF certified, partly, and well, mostly at this point, because I didn't go through ICF. I went through somebody else and they weren't a part of ICF. So I just didn't go down that lane. Since then, like when I got into coaching, ICF, I don't even know if ICF was a thing. Maybe it was, I don't know, but I didn't know about it. I just followed whoever changed my life. Somebody changed my life and I said, "Where'd you get that?" And he goes, "Over there." And I went, "Over there." That was the extent of my exploration of all the different options. I just wanted to go where my life was changed. I didn't care about any of that other stuff. So ICF is a valid question. A lot of people ask the question, is this ICF certified? Because, and I'm gonna be blunt, I'm gonna be honest, but I don't mean to be dismissive. I don't want to be judgmental. But I want to be, open and honest about the question. I said earlier that nobody has ever asked me where I got certified that was interested in hiring me. The only people that have ever asked me where I got certified were ICF coaches. And they wanted to compare coaching certifications. So the blunt reality to that question, now I'm not saying it's not a valid question. It's absolutely a valid question. And ICF is probably the closest to a body in the coaching community that is trying to put up bumper rails and saying, this is what competency needs to look like. So I respect them. I've actually trained for ICF, so I don't have anything bad to say about them. Like I did a certified training like for ICF, not like I took the training, but I trained on behalf of ICF in Europe, I think. So I don't have anything bad to say about ICF. And I made $7 million and nobody's ever asked me if I was ICF certified. And there's a lot of people that are ICF certified that don't have any clients. I'm not saying that ICF is not valid, is not good. I'm not saying that's the reason. I'm just saying that a recognized certification doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to get the certainty that people will pay for. People buy our programs because they feel the certainty, not because they ask us where our certification came from. Does that make sense? Having said that, I advocate for everybody to get certified, but not for the certificate, but for the certainty. I don't know how ICF is put together because I was never a student in ICF. I can't tell you if ICF has created their programs to produce certainty. I can only tell you we have. And I'll put up the certainty against any certification out there, right? So that's the ICF conversation.
So before you jump in, Janet had asked, what happens after the 5-day deep dive? It sounded like Anne was in a different program when she was talking about the coaching practice.
Yes. So there's a third level that only matters if you go through the first 2 levels. So there's an advanced certification, totally optional. You don't have to do it. But if you want to, it's like the doctorate program, right? Like if you want to take the tools and just even go deeper, then there's something called ECCP in Action, which is an advanced program where you get matched up with a mentor, you get one-on-one support over an extended period of time. Mm-hmm. And that usually for most people lasts about 9 to 12 months. Mm-hmm. And you get more feedback, like more individual feedback. Your mentor coach listens to some of your coaching calls, gives you advice, answers questions. So there's, I don't want to say hand holding throughout the whole thing, but there's intentional deepening of your conviction and your practice and your mastery. I mean, all of these are obviously optional. We have people that have gone through BCC and gotten coaching clients. We have people that go through ECCP and get more coaching clients. And then we have people that go through ECCP in Action and just take their certainty and rooted confidence and conviction just to a whole nother level. So I'm glad you asked that question, Janet. That's what Anne was alluding to with all of those practice hours. You're going to get a bunch of practice in ECCP as a coach. But the nature of the program, I mean, we're going to have, a few dozen people on the line. You're obviously not going to get one-on-one experience for all of those practicing exercise that you're going to do, right? Whereas ECCP in Action is extended over 12 months and you're going to get more of that. So that's an advanced program if you want a piece of it, but we don't even really talk much about it unless people ask about it because it doesn't matter unless you're at ECCP, right? Because you can't have ECCP in Action unless you've gone through ECCP. So that is the advanced program. Anything else, Michelle, that's happening in the chat that I need to address or you want to address?
Hey, I lost my Zoom for a second. No, well, yeah, I'll just say, Leslie just said something really powerful that program, ECCP in Action, made me know I am a coach. That's amazing, Leslie. I love that.
Yeah. I mean, that embodiment, and mastery there's no finish line to mastery.
Right.
You can always go deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. People have come back to ECCP. Alicia, what, 7, 8 times, something like that? 6 times. Michelle's been there twice, right? You've been there twice?
Yeah, something like that.
Michelle's been there every one since what, 2016?
20, yeah.
2015 maybe?
Since the end of 2015.
I've been to most of them. So
yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people for that thing, like a lot of people are coming, like continue to come back because they're a different person. They're at a different place. Because of the continual growth and evolution of us and what we're learning and our own personal work, the content continues to evolve and grow, and the conversations are so unique because of everybody in the space. Yeah.
It's just deeper and deeper and deeper. You can always go deeper, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I want to add something to that package that I offered for ECCP. For any of you that jump into ECCP by that date, what was it?
The 28th.
28th,
Sunday.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So by Sunday night, I'll do a one-on-one session with you, a 45-minute session that you can cash in anytime over the next year. And I'll help you however I can, whether it's personal stuff or it's business or whatever. It'll just be a one-on-one session that will add on top of the package that you guys have seen. So we'll just have to manually do that because it's not in the slides. All right.
Bob just asked, is there any part of the training that prepares us to coach people who want to be entrepreneurs other than a coach?
That's a really good question. There isn't any specific entrepreneurial focus to ECCP, but all of the concepts of human behavior apply to being an entrepreneur, right? So even though we're not going to use entrepreneurship as the lane, we're going to talk about things that can be applied to entrepreneurship.
Right.
But there isn't a curriculum that says you can take this out and teach people how to be entrepreneurial. Like we don't have that kind of curriculum. And I know there are some programs out there. Now we have our own philosophies about entrepreneurship. And, one of the best things that you can do to be qualified to help people with their entrepreneurial journey is to succeed in your own and, learn from your journey and then advocate for other people to go through their journey. But, we don't necessarily teach anything that's relationship, but everything applies to relationships.
Because it's humans.
Because it's humans, right? Like we don't teach anything that's necessarily about money. I mean, we use examples and stuff like that. Everything applies to money. Like, because we teach what we call center of the clock information. The human is at the center of the clock, and then all of the other circumstances that the human can be involved in are the edges of the clock. So entrepreneurship is on the edge of the clock, but we teach what's at the center that can then be applied to all that stuff. So that's the bottom up, inside out approach. Does that make sense? Awesome. Yeah, I appreciate that. Appreciate that question.
I just want to share, David said,
yeah, that's what I was reading.
Yeah, fortunate to have found this. I'm sure we all have that smile at life's incredible timing sometimes. Personally, for me, it's that we'll be following. Thank you.
Yeah, that's awesome.
You're welcome, David.
Yeah, I appreciate that. All right, so let's get back to I'm gonna dive into the conversation or the content around what you really need to be a coach. So I told you conversation, clear offer, and certainty. I thought I was sharing my slides, but it doesn't look like I am. And I am typing buttons on the wrong keyboard.
That'll do it.
Sometimes, yeah, sometimes, I mean, I don't understand because I know what I'm looking at.
Right.
So I don't see why my laptop buttons wouldn't work on my MacBook, but you know, those computers.
I'm sure Apple's working on it, especially since they probably just heard you say it.
Probably. Yeah. So we talked about what do you need? These three things. I want to dive into these three things and dissect them just a little bit more. Conversations. What's important when you have a conversation with somebody is that you understand their model of the world. And this is like an introduction to some of the things that we teach in the coaching certification programs about coaching specifically. Like you need to understand people's model of the world and you need to advocate for them. We need to advocate for their freedom. And in the conversation, coach them, give them an experience. Here's what sales looks like for a good coach. You give somebody an experience and then you say, do you want more of that? That's sales. That's the sales invitation. Do you want more of what you just experienced? You know how much easier that is than to jump into their theoretical mind of their intellect saying, if you were to hire me as a coach, this is what you can expect out there in the future. I'm not going to give any of it to you now because really I have insecurity and I don't think you might like it. But if I can just sell you on the expectation of what might happen if you hire me as a coach, then let's talk about the future. It is really difficult to sell the future to people, but it is not difficult to sell the present or the past to people. Like that feeling that you just got, you want more of it? Or I just helped you create more clarity in your life or help you make a decision. Like, do you want more of that? If you want more of that, then there's a program. And here's what I love about this approach. If somebody says no to you, you still change their life. You still planted a seed. You know how good it feels to put your head down on the pillow when somebody says no to a coaching package because for whatever reason, it's not the right time for them. And you can still look yourself in the mirror and go, but I still coached my ass off. I still gave them something that could be a seed planted that might change something fundamental in their life because I gave them an experience. That feels really good. So you either win or you win. Right? You win by helping people in their lives, or you win by helping people in their lives and getting a client. Those are the options when you really have conversations as a coach. Now, we have a free consultation guide that we offer. There's a lot more to teach about this. We have like a training video on this. So if you want more about it, or if you want to learn more about it and go deeper, then you can go to coachshawnsmith.com/consultation guide right there and get more to what that conversation is. The second C is a clear offer. Invite them to, I guess I jumped ahead of myself a little bit, just more of what they just had. And make a service-driven recommendation. So what I recommend for you based on what you're experiencing in your life, what I recommend for you is, let's do this work for another 6 months. Let's do this work for 3 months. Anne said she just asked the woman, do you want to do this every week or every other week? Like, just make a service-driven recommendation, not a sales pitch, but a recommendation. I recommend, based on what you are experiencing in your life and based on what I know about how to help you, I recommend that we stick around for this amount of time, that we work on these things. But you're going to advocate for them. You're not going to be desperate and get them to try to make you feel better by saying yes to a program. And the less desperate you are, the more attractive you'll be. The more likelihood that somebody will say yes to you when you don't need their yes. When you need their yes, that desperation is going to push people away. And it's easier to be more desperate when you don't have that internal certainty. So hopefully you're seeing how so much of these cycles feed into each other and go in the wrong direction, right? So they need to know you have a game plan. They need to know that you got them. They don't need just detailed instructions of what to do. Nobody has an information deficit. We all know what we should be doing. We need help in doing the things that we know. It's not a question of why don't I know what to do? It's a question of why don't I do what I know? So people need help at a deeper permission level or willingness or internal drive. They don't need more help intellectually, but they do need to understand that you've got them. They need to understand that there's some kind of an illuminated path, right? Like, I know what we got to go. I know where we got to go. We got to do some systems work, or we got to do some values work, or we got to do more of this belief work. So they need to know that you got them, but they don't need to see the whole thing explained with details. And on call number 4, we're going to be doing this exercise. They don't need that. Actually, that will push more people away. And with the clear offer, with that certainty, when you help people, you're just going to get clients. I already talked about this, but just to highlight it again, people have been buying intellectual expectations for a long time. We need to give people embodied experiences. And the way you do that is you become a good coach and you give them something really powerful. And you know how good it feels when you just offer something and you're not trying to hide anything and you're not trying to overcompensate for any insecurities. And you're just like, listen, this is what I know. This is what I offer. I'm going to give you this because I know it's going to be super valuable for you. And then you're either going to say yes to more of it or you're not. That level of cleanliness, that level of clean offer and just helping people is what almost everybody in the coaching industry is missing, and just about what everybody actually needs. So this certainty is, it's not much. It's only everything. That's it. It's only everything. See, you want to get to a point where your certainty commands clients. Michelle's at a point. Ann is at a point. Alicia, I'm looking at some of the people that I can see. I know Kevin can coach some people like crazy. Leslie's at a point. Like, when you have certainty and people hear your certainty, you're going to get clients. Not every single time. And I can't predict exactly how. I remember I was speaking with a guy one time who told a whole story about how he got to the NFL, which is, if you're not familiar with the NFL, that's the professional football league out here in America. He got to the NFL and he told a story about a friend of his when he had come off of an injury. A friend of his said, because he couldn't go to the college that he thought he was going to be able to go to because he had this injury. And so he couldn't go there. And then he had to go to a smaller college, and he didn't think he would ever make it to the NFL. And his friend said, if you can play, they'll find you. He just said, put your head down and get really, really good, become the best player you can possibly become. And if you can play, they will find you. Our coaching translation of that is, if you can coach, they will find you. And if you can coach, they will hire you, because you're going to be putting something into society, something into the atmosphere that people need and people want at a certain level. Now, it might take a little bit of time for you to know that they're out there listening to you. It might take a little bit of time for them to trust that you're going to be able to lead them through a tender conversation in their lives. It might not look the exact same way as if you were selling how to become a millionaire in real estate. That sales process might not look the same. The sales campaign might not look the same. So it might look different, but let me tell you, if you put a positive magnet out there into the world, it will attract people that are attracted to it. And when that magnet is value, when you give value to people, you will get people who are attracted to that value. So what that means is, when you focus on certainty, when you become a better coach, what certainty has the power of doing is overpowering your fears. Like, if you imagine scales, right? You got one thing on one scale and another thing on another scale. The more certainty you have, the less fear is going to be presenting itself in your life, because certainty has the power to push out the fear. But if you don't work on your certainty, meaning if you have a foundation of uncertainty. And then you've got fears on top of that foundation. And all you do is try to deal with the fears up here, but you don't change the uncertainty. What's going to happen is the fake solutions, because it's not dealing with the real problem. Uncertainty is the root of the fears. The fake solutions not only will not change your uncertainty, it will actually make it worse. It's the drug addicted person just needing one more hit. It actually increases the desperate attachment to the addiction. So here's the cool thing. You don't actually need to work on your fears to get over a lot of the fears that are stopping you. You just need to increase your certainty. Man, I hope that's as clear to you as it is in my head. Like, and you see how valuable that is. You don't actually need to work on the fear as much as you need to increase the certainty, and then the fear gets worked on. Overcoming a lot of the fears that are standing in our way is a byproduct of increasing certainty. Does that make sense, you guys? Hopefully it makes sense. Let me know if that is landing for you. It's so, so critical. And this certainty work. Go ahead.
I was just saying, I think the fear stays the same size. The certainty just makes us bigger. So
there you go.
Bigger than the obstacle.
Yeah, that's a really good way to put it. So even if the fear doesn't necessarily change, your certainty overpowers it. Your certainty gets bigger, and then the fear just doesn't have anywhere near the level of influence that it had before, because it's up against just a bigger ingredient, right? Which is certainty in this case. Yeah, I'm really glad you said that.
Yeah, I mean, I was just thinking, like, a pebble is the same size to me or to an ant, but the ant has a very different reaction to it than I do. It's just bigger. It's just a pebble.
Yeah, that's it right there. That's huge. So we've been talking a lot about certainty. It's an energetic thing. It's in your body. And there are a lot of people who are certified but have no clients. And the reason they have no clients is because they have no certainty. Certainty is the client magnet. It's not certification. And hopefully this will wrap it all up for you, or at least a portion of it. People won't hire you when they believe that they understand you. See, if you want to get certified to impress somebody, you're hoping that they like you or that they see you as an authority. You're essentially trying to get somebody's opinion or somebody's approval. They won't hire you when they believe that they understand you. They will hire you when they know that you understand them. And in that understanding of them, they will trust that you can help them. I hope you understand how critical that distinction is. And most of our fears are actually trying to get people's approval or trying to not get people's disapproval. So it's focused on the wrong place. You don't want to try to get people to like you or to, I mean, that's a part of it for sure, but you don't want to get people, like, they need to trust you, but you don't want to get people's approval from an intellectual standpoint. You want them to really know, this person knows me. Now, how will they know that you know them? Because you'll be talking about things that are inside their head at a deeper level than the way they experience those conversations almost anywhere else. Because you'll be talking about systems, you'll be talking about inside, you'll be talking about the behavior inside the behavior. And they'll be like, wow, we hear this all the time with our students. Michelle and I hear it, I mean, like hundreds of times. People will go, wow, I feel like you're talking like directly to me. Or are you inside my head? And the answer is, yeah, kind of. Why? Because we're inside our head. So the way that you get people to know that you understand them is that you understand you. When you understand you, then you can reach out to them and connect with them at a deeper level and let them know that you understand them also. But you understand them because you understand you inside of them, and they will understand themselves inside of you. That's the depth that people need nowadays to get over this distrust that we talked about earlier with the marketing and all the traumatization that we've been experiencing. So the bottom line is you are the main ingredient. You are the product. Investing into the improvement of the product or your relationship to the product is the smartest thing you can do as a coach. And then all the other stuff about marketing and messaging and all that, that can absolutely help. But none of those will overcompensate for a lack of certainty and conviction in the product. And the main reason, we've been saying this in all kinds of different area or angles, the main reason coaches fail is because of uncertainty. Or they take longer than necessary. It's simply because of uncertainty. To succeed as a coach is simple. But if you've bought that idea that certainty is the main thing, then you have to understand the road to get it. The road to get it is not the way that most of us are looking at it. Is you can't out-intellect uncertainty. You can't out-prepare uncertainty. You can't out-motivate uncertainty. Just rah, I'm going to get over my uncertainty. That's not how it works. You can't out-affirm your uncertainty. You can't out-think uncertainty. You can't outrun uncertainty. Because certainty doesn't live in any of those areas. The only thing you can do is out-body it. Because that's where the lack of certainty actually lives. So you can't outmind it because it's in your body. Certainty is a deep, deep dive. It's in your cells. It's in your neurology. And here's what I want. I just want you to get that it's possible. Like we're not teaching brain surgery. You know, we're not teaching things that you need to be some intellectual superstar to learn. We're teaching human behavior. We're just teaching the simplicity of what it takes to actually change people's lives. And everybody can learn it. There's nobody that can't learn how to change people's lives. There's nobody that can't change their, there's nobody that can't be healed. There's nobody that's incapable or incapable of healing. It's just that most people are unwilling to do the work. There's nobody that can't do it. It's just that most people won't do it. And there's nobody that can't become a neurotransformational coach, because most people won't. But for the people that will, life will forever be shifted. And as a coach, as the magnet, it'll never be the same. So don't go into the shop, into the intellect of where all the scary stuff lives. Don't go into the shop where all of the signs are made. Go into the lab where the work is done. When you go into the lab where the work is done, the signs can change. Or to Michelle's point, even if the signs don't change, the courage and the bravery and the certainty can now overpower all of that. I'm really glad you said that, Michelle, because when we commit to the process of embodiment, when we commit to the process of increasing our own certainty, what we're going to touch is all the stuff that most of us wish weren't there. We're going to touch the fears. We're going to touch the insecurities. We're going to touch the limiting beliefs. We're going to touch all that stuff. But we're only going to touch it so that we can overpower it. And the reason I think that's really important is because when you're on this path, when you feel some of those fears, we're going to tell you, great job. That means you're on the right path. That means you're doing it the right way. Keep going. We got you. We experienced that as well. I can't tell you how many times somebody will tell me, either in a coaching conversation or some other conversation, people will be like, I really want to be a coach, or I want to be a speaker. Or I just want to, do some kind of this mastery level work, but I'm afraid. I don't know how many times I've said this to people. Listen, if you have to get rid of your fear first, then I need to sit down because I haven't learned how to. I don't know how to do that. Like, if you ever figure that out, then sell me your course because I'll go through your course. But I don't think it's possible. What so many people are expecting is literally impossible. So we're not going to sell you something that is not possible. We're just going to offer you the truth and say, we can't turn the incline road toward mastery to a decline. We can't do that because that's just not possible. We can't change what's required to evolve. We can't change what's required to get really, really good. We can't change what's required for certainty, but we can create a system that can produce it for you and support you through it. That's the only thing that we can do. And that's what we're offering to any of you that are still around, still listening, either live or listening to the recording. That's the offer, is to support you through the required process, not change the required process. If we were going to start selling the fantasy process, well, we can't. I mean, it's like, it doesn't even matter that we try to finish that sentence because we just can't do it.
And in that journey, like, what was just really ringing loudly in my head is like, you can have so much fun and you can enjoy the process and you can meet some really just phenomenal human beings like inside of a community, and you can encourage each other and support each other, and you can learn and you can share in wins and in celebrations, and you can ask, hey, what did you just do? Their questions while you're making money part-time and building all of these things up. It's not like you have to do all of this and then you'll get there. And that type of, I only bring that up because that's the mentality of the programming that so many of us, both hands up for me, had been operating under or are still operating under, that something outside of us has our answers. And it doesn't have to be an either or thing. It really is both. When you make I don't know who said this, but there's some famous quote that talks about like that something like providence moves, or like the world shifts for the person who's actually made the decision. We have to declare it first and make that, or not, right? Which is fine. And if you're not declaring it, I actually believe that it's very powerful and valuable to acknowledge that as well. Right? If that's not where you're at right now, if that's not the place in your journey, that's cool. Then be with that decision. But when you make that commitment, then things, they start to shift and change, and you can really have a ton of fun and enjoy the process and make money while you're building the mastery.
It's what you said earlier. The commitment comes first. And when the commitment to mastery is made, you can succeed along the way. When you're only committed to success, you'll never approach mastery, because those are two different things. And I want to highlight what Alicia said earlier in the chat a little while back. I don't remember what we were talking about at the time, but it was, like, what if you can actually change somebody's lives while you're doing consultation calls? Or what if you just became a really good coach and you could fundamentally shift people? And she said, when someone tells you that you've helped them more in 1 hour than they've been helped in months of therapy, there's no words that can explain that feeling. Again, you can make sounds with your mouth and change the way somebody experiences literally the rest of their life. It's possible. We've experienced it. Once upon a time, I didn't think it was possible. I remember watching Jack Canfield do the work that he was doing back in 2005, 2006, when I was sitting in his seminars thinking, there's no way I can do that. I don't like, there's no way. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to ask. He's asking these crazy questions. He's doing these Jedi mind tricks on people. People are like healing. And I wish I could do that, but there's no way I could do that. Once upon a time, I didn't think it was possible. Once upon a time, Michelle didn't think it was possible. Once upon a time, Alicia didn't think it was possible. Like, you have to understand that it's possible, that it is possible first. Then the second piece is that it's possible for you. But here's what I'll promise you. Even if you don't believe it's possible for you, let us take care of that. Even if you don't believe it's possible for you, but you believe it's possible and you're willing to put yourself in the machine, I dare you to be the first person to come out of the other side of the machine not having been fully, fundamentally shifted. And we say that not because like it isn't even my work. Like, one of the reasons that I can fully believe in this is because it's the work that changed my life. It's not like I just decided I want to sell this idea that came out of my head. It's, oh my God, this changed my relationship with my wife. This changed my relationship with my kids. This changed my relationship with who I see in the mirror. This helped me actually create a business going from 4 years of complete failure, losing $10,000 a month. This helped me create a business. I was a probation officer. I was a school teacher. I didn't have any business background. This helped me create a business that generated over $300,000 in the first 18 months and $7+ million since. Are you kidding me? This stuff works. Like, I'm selling you what worked for me. We've certainly packaged it and we've gotten really good at delivering it. And we are teachers. We are teachers. You get into our classroom, we're going to teach our face off. We're going to teach your ass off. We are going to teach because we want you to walk out being the work. That's why we know that this stuff works, because we're actually selling fundamentals and we're offering what changed our lives. That's why we can go to bat for it. That's why we can advocate for it. And that's also why nobody asks for refunds. Like, because we tell you exactly what you're going to get on the outside of the door. If you walk into our door, you're going to get exactly what we told you. And you're either in or you're not. And if you're not, that's totally fine. It's also why we can say, hey, listen, if you don't want to choose us, if you don't want to go to in our classroom, that's fine. But don't not choose yourself just because you're not going to choose us. If you're going to not choose us, then choose yourself somewhere else. But don't try to do this work without choosing yourself. That's not possible. And then if you got questions, ask. We're here. You got any questions? Let us know. Michelle, anything you want to add? Anything else that's been in the chat box? I'm seeing some of your faces. David, I appreciate you, brother. I see you online. Bob, I know you've been over there asking a bunch of questions and all kinds of reactions that I've seen out of you. Kevin, Alicia, Leslie, Gregor. Let me see if I can say your name right. Donna Shri. Please let me know. You can type in chat if I'm close. I see Ivani is still here. Elodie is still here. Any of you that are still watching on the replay, it truly makes my heart happy that there are people. I mean, you know, we're just a few minutes shy of 3 hours here. There are people that are willing to dive in on behalf of others. Because I don't think any of you would still be here if it was just for you, if it was just to make money. Like, you're here because you want to help people. You're here because you want to be a lighthouse. You're here because you want to put that ripple effect out there and actually be able to fundamentally change people's lives. And for that, I honor you. I think it's the most noble thing you can do is dedicate your life in some degree to some intensity level, whatever works for you, to help change people's lives. And I hope we've delivered something, whether it's a strategy, a quote, concept, a feeling inside of you. Hopefully we've delivered something for you that has helped you recognize that you can absolutely do this work. You can make fantastic differences in other people's lives. And oh, by the way, you can make some really, really good money on your way to being whatever kind of coach you want. And that goes through part-time. That now you might be part-time. That might be 6 hours a day for you. That might be 6 hours a week for you. It depends on you, but you have to go through the process that's required. And if you'll buy that, that's the story that we want to sell you. If you'll buy that it's possible to create the certainty by going on the right path, and your trust in self is the most important ingredient in your business, then you got a fighting chance. If you're going to buy the story, I mean, none of you would still be here, so I don't need to think that any of you are going to buy the shortcut story, because we'd have pissed you off well before now. But for the people that are going to buy the shortcut story, the microwave approach, you just don't have a chance unless you're also going to sell microwaves. And, then you can get into the pyramid of selling the things so that people can sell the things to sell the things. But for those of you that really, truly want to heal humans, I love what you just typed in, Kevin, heal the humans. For those of you that just really want to help in your puzzle piece, whatever that looks like for, to contribute to the puzzle of society, to the puzzle of the world, it's possible. And if you're going to choose us, we got you, whatever that looks like. You want to join BCC? Cool. You want to join us at ECCP? Great. You want our support in some other way? Let us know. Anything you want to add, Michelle?
Not like, yes, I have more that I want to add. Just yes.
That's what you want to add.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, at this point in time, like whoever is still here, like you get it. Like you get it. And that's not saying that somebody who isn't here doesn't. It's just there's something in you that my guess is that there's something in you that knows this is the right space or the right place or the right time or the right feeling, or there's something in you that resonates, and it's probably not loud or flashy or like with cymbals crashing. It's probably just a whisper to stay on 5 more minutes, or to ask your partner to take care of the dog or the kids, or you sent a text that said, I'm going to be a little bit late, or I'm coming to bed soon, or whatever it is when you're in your time zone. It's that thing. And that's that invitation into yourself. That's that invitation to trust yourself. And if you notice yourself being like, well, I don't really know, and asking all of those questions, whether it's 5 minutes from now or an hour from now or tomorrow, that's potentially going to happen as well. And that's just the programming of that external. And my invitation is to just keep coming back to that quiet knowing, that whisper that lets you know, like, this feels, it might not, I might not have all of the answers, but contrary to what we are programmed to believe, we actually don't need to know all of the answers or have complete and total understanding about every single detail in order to make a decision. And trust you.
Trust you, bet on you. You're the most important ingredient. You're the most valuable magnet. And it's possible. And we just need more real humans helping real humans. That's it. There's a common phrase that say hurt people, and healing people heal people. So what if we got into that cycle where we're healing each other, even if it's just a little bit at a time, and we can help heal the humans while we're in that process. So with that, everyone, I appreciate you so much. If there's anything we can do to answer any questions, fantastic. We can support you in your journey. Fantastic. Let's go heal. Let's go heal some humans.
Thank you for your leadership.
Thanks for
Sean.
spending the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And thank each of you for your presence and your commitment.
Amen. Take care, everybody. We'll talk to you soon.
Bye, everyone.